Love, love, until I feel the breath of thy spirit flowing in me.
Hello, welcome to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Helen Alcock. Welcome to the show, Helen. You've had a faith story where you had a real transformation. Tell us about it, Helen.
Well, perhaps I should begin at the beginning. And that's why did I even want to go on this journey? Because I used to go to church once a week on a Sunday, and it was sort of like didn't have much relationship with God. It was very superficial, and if He existed at all. I mean, there was one particular moment in my life where things were overwhelming me in life, and particularly with situations where I was trying to manage and look good in it, and suddenly I'd find myself really emotional, and that would happen over and over again despite the power of positive thinking, whatever. So I remember this particular day sitting down, actually not sitting down, I actually knelt. That's how desperate I was. For me then that was desperate. And saying, you know, if you do exist, God, I need your help. You know, I don't even know if you are there. And I got this image of a great big brick wall, and all I did was say, take over. And I am over the time, on reflection now, I realised slowly but slowly those bricks were taken down, and it represented so many memories that were unresolved in my life, so many ways that I had to change. But as that journey began, it began to open doors. The old story is when you ask, things begin to change. And it was great for a while, and then I was really challenged. And in those challenges, I kind of clung and met some amazing people on the journey. So on the journey I was then, I think it was 2 years down the track after asking that some very normal looking lady asked me to a group. And I kind of been wanting to go to that group because I knew I needed more. I needed people to help me on this journey to really become free. And when I went along, I sat right at the back, very sceptical, and I watched and looked and saw, and I began to realise that there was something different here, even though they were a bit strange, different to what I thought, to the normal people out in life. And they're actually just very normal people, but there was a lovely atmosphere there. There was something, a presence there, and I was then led to a thing called the Spirit of Life, and it was a whole seminar.
Wow. And were you at the time a lot of tension? Were there a lot of family problems and things like that occurring?
You know, it'd be spaces where it'd be okay. You know, I had 3 young kids, and then there'd be moments where there'd be real dramas, real dramas. And then there'd be times when I felt really alone, and I didn't quite know how to deal with the aloneness. And all I did know how to do was to try and get it right, to try and be the best person I could be. That created tension, because then I wouldn't really speak my mind, and I really wouldn't say what I was really feeling. I would just kind of pretend, push it down, and just pretend and look good, you know, and get it perfect. But it didn't kind of work out, because I'd end up frustrated, trapped, and feel even more alone, I think, and wondered what was going on. So in this group that I joined, I began to feel a safe space where I could be real. I could just be whatever I was, with whatever was going on. And I began to realise they cared.
Did you encounter God in this group?
Yeah, they had this, and through the seminar they had a time where they lay hands on you, and you surrender yourself to the Holy Spirit. And I thought, oh well, I might as well give it a go. And something in me did begin to change. But it was slowly and subtly, slowly and subtly. And it was really the presence of the people there. Even though I had the moments of presence in the beginning, it was the caring of the people who had compassionate hearts.
Yes.
That really kept me going back there. And they prayed in tongues, and I'm thinking, well, what the is this?
Yeah.
You know, and so again I just waited and looked and saw, and I realised that there was, again, I could feel a presence, I could feel something that was good.
Yeah.
So I so slowly began to surrender to things like that, and slowly became involved. But it took many years, but I found my life began to change.
Yes. I remember you talking once about one of your daughters who was quite sick, and you came to a point where you needed to let go. And was that part of your journey too?
Absolutely, because I thought I'd let go. For 3 years I thought I'd let go. You can say the words, but you don't really do it. And I realise now, again on reflection, that it's by how did I feel? I was letting go, but I was full of fear and I was still in control. You know, so I was sort of asking, but running.
Yes.
Out of fear and out of tension. So when I actually did let go that day, it was when I was at the end of my tether. I couldn't do anything more for her because she was really dying on me. And I'd done all I know how to do to take her to the professors, the doctors, the naturopaths. And it wasn't until I knelt down again, like I did in the beginning, and I just said, if you have to take her, if you have to take her, I surrender. I really meant it, because I was done. She was done being pushed to pillar and post. And I just knelt down and I said, you created her. If you have to take her now, I have to surrender in your arms, because I can't hold on. The tension was too much. And this peace just enveloped me.
Wow.
It was an experience you have to have. And it just enveloped me. It was the opposite of what I thought. And all the fear and tension left. And I had an image in my mind of her dancing in the daisies.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, this is surreal. But it was kind of like a promise now, I realised, for the future. And I got the words, stop talking about her illness. And on reflection, I realised now I was creating more of the tension by talking about it. What you keep talking about, you keep recreating.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a very important thing about the power of recreating. On that note, we need to go for a break. You've been watching Spirit of Life. Stay with us and we'll be back after the break. Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Helen Alcock. Hi, Helen. Welcome back. You were talking very interestingly about your daughter and how at that moment when she nearly died, you had to let go. And what happened after that moment where you let go?
Well, I had the experience of peace, as I said a moment ago, which was beyond understanding, because the reality is she was upstairs with oxygen. I had the image of her dancing in the daisies, which seemed surreal. It was like a promise, I realise now. And then I was told, again, as I said before, not to keep talking about, because my focus was always on her. And then within 2 weeks of that really surrendering her, no matter what happened, someone suggested me going to another doctor, and I thought, I can't. But I thought, she begged me to, so I went along. And I think because of that surrender, something in me had changed, and I realise now that there was a peace there instead of the tension, which has to flow into my daughter. And then the doctor suggested using cortisone, which I had been resisting, but I had given up all resistance.
Yes.
And he managed to find some things that she was very allergic to. But with a bit of this and a bit of that, she began to recover.
Oh,
and she eventually became a personal trainer.
Wow.
We don't even talk about the illness she had and the terrible time she had.
Wow. How long was she suffering? Was it some type of asthma or something?
She had asthma for 3 years, but it got allergies so bad she could hardly eat anything without her throat closing over. And there was many times where she would just collapse in our arms and stop breathing.
Wow.
And there were times when she was conscious and she started panicking and she stopped breathing, and we couldn't put the oxygen on her mouth. We could just have to stay there and just literally call. I mean, all I knew was to say, Jesus, help us, because I couldn't move to help her until she allowed us, because it felt like she was being suffocated, I guess. So we had many moments of what I call real trauma.
Yeah.
And watching her and seeing her like that. So to gone like 3 years of that.
And how old was she then?
Oh, about 8. And losing weight.
That would have been awful.
Everybody, professors, doctors, and I'm not at all knocking them. I now realise it's a combination of a whole lot of things. But, you know, nothing worked. No naturopath, nothing worked until I surrendered, until I let go. The tension was released. I stopped talking about it. And within 2 weeks, that doctor helped us. And as I said, she's well and now has 2 beautiful children and married, and there's not even a discussion about it. Asthma's not even talked about. I don't think she even gets it anymore.
Yes. Well, it's that power of letting go. What do you say to people who really find it hard to let go? What advice would you give them?
Well, I now, after all the years of experience of not just that one experience, but so many others, I would say to them, you have to be real. I had to acknowledge that I'd got to the end. You know, that I literally couldn't go anywhere, do anything else anymore. I'd given up, in a sense, and so I'd surrendered. But I just didn't give up. I surrendered her back to the one who created her, to love.
Yes.
And I would just say to them, feel your feelings, be honest about where you're at.
Yeah.
And be present. And if you don't believe in God, that's okay. But just allow yourself to surrender to the one who created her, him, the situation, to the one who has all wisdom, all knowledge, all love. How many times I've done that over my life, and that changes that have happened again and again. It's just kind of like stepping back and allowing presence and love and wisdom to take over and guide.
Did the rest of your family have this kind of faith, or were you able to help them too? Because they would have been struggling.
Totally not. They all said I was nuts.
Oh.
In fact, I had to learn a lot about relationships. The seminar I've just run recently, after many, many years. But because I used to run in from these other groups, this group that I belonged to, I used to run in so excited to see the changes and often what I call miracles in people's lives that I heard. And I was so excited. Had no idea about boundaries, had no idea about that they were watching TV, and I just thought I was nuts. So I had to learn a lot about stepping back, being present and listening to them. And so I stood alone in what I did. And I just kept on asking for wisdom and grace, how to let love flow through me and be what I was seeing outside and in these groups. I thought, just help me. I had to take many years before I shut up and stopped talking about things and just learning to listen to them and love them where they were, and then politely asking them, could I share something with them?
Yes.
And that began to change them.
Yeah, that's suddenly a power of acceptance when you try to push something or change something.
Totally.
As a negative impact.
Totally. It's about learning to develop respect by asking questions, by listening and being present to where they're at.
And your daughter, when she improved, how did that affect her? Did she also have a transformation of faith?
Not really. I think they have had experiences, like we've all had experiences. I don't think she's never forgotten it.
Wow.
But later on, when she was a teenager, because this created memories, because she had so many dramatic times, and memories remain there, whether they're good memories or not, now I understand. And I remember one time her coming back over the Westgate Bridge, and I didn't know this. I got a knock on the door. And you were there with me at that time. And I opened the door and she was just ashen. So in that particular time, she came in and I helped her get in touch with how you're feeling. She said, I thought I was going to die, Mum. Again, something had happened. Later on, we discovered it was 5 coffees. And she was really ratty and her eyes were blurry. She was going over the Westgate Bridge and she thought she was going to lose control. Triggered off all the other memories of when she didn't have any control. And you helped me there. So we put her on the bed, you took a pulse, told her she's perfectly okay. and then she encountered.
Yes.
And that continued to build her faith.
Yes. No, it's. I can see it's very important to acknowledge your feelings, because a lot of people in positive thinking just say be positive. Yeah. But we need to go for a break now.
Thank you.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. We'll be back after the break. Hello, welcome back to Spirit of Life. My name is Geraldine Lee, your host, and our guest is Helen Alcock. Welcome back, Helen. You were talking about how your daughter had that experience where she was very panicky on the bridge. What did she learn and you learned from that?
Well, I think I certainly learned that it was ridiculously over the top. Yeah. And on reflection, she realised she'd had 5 cups of coffee and she was very tired, hadn't eaten, and it was more like, palpitations. But when she believed that she was going to die, I now know from all the years of working with people who have unresolved memories that we're a product of our past, and unresolved memories can also be included in whatever you experience at the present. And that's what happened with her, because there were many times when we lay her on the bed. Remember, we lay her on the bed and you checked her pulse and you said, actually, you're not going to die, your heart's okay. And I said, would you allow me to help you, sweetheart? And just, where are you? What are you feeling? And what are you thinking? And of course, it was panic and I'm going to die. I said, would you be just present? And I'm going to ask the truth to be revealed here. And she experienced a presence and she became totally calm. Actually, no. Actually, now that remembering, she went back to her memory when she was in the hospital. And in that hospital place, she realised, she said, I remember being in that place and thinking I was all alone and I'm going to die. And I felt totally panicky. So I said, would you allow the presence of love, the one who created you, to come in there? And the angel, she said, yep. So I said, just look at the memory. And of course, she had this extraordinary experience of peace like I did. And she said, it's all gone, all the fear's gone, and I don't feel panicky anymore. And I said, well, look back at the Bridget episode, what's that like? And she said, it's fine. She said, I just had too much coffee. So that built her faith. And you were asking me that built her faith.
Yes.
So slowly over time, the family began to see things like this. Yeah. So slowly, it builds a bit of foundations.
Yeah, so, it's interesting how a lot of people, the past can be triggered through a present situation, and going across that bridge bring her back to something when she had that asthma attack, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the palpitations, but it's the power of the belief with the feelings. Yeah, when you don't realise what's going on. That's why I began this journey. I didn't realise the past was being triggered off by the present.
So when people have a past experience, people can get a strong belief about situation, can't they?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean. A strong belief in the present or in the past?
That after a bad experience, they put a sudden meaning on it.
Well, I usually say, like in that situation, that school situation, I had one woman I worked with later on when I got involved with an organisation called Agape Encounter, which we developed to then show what's possible, how memories can be healed. She went back to her memory when she was in school. And suddenly she was like a child in school with this horrible teacher pointing a finger at her and telling her she is hopeless and useless and it was her fault. Now, I know nothing about that. She went back to that memory. She encountered a beautiful, I said, just to listen to the truth. She experienced the truth. And that whole memory came to peace. And when she went back to the present situation that was making her feel so inadequate and like it was all her fault and she was responsible, she felt totally at peace as well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is, it's profound.
Yeah.
I see so many people on television and shows on television, and particularly I feel so much for soldiers or anyone who has a traumatic experience. They don't realise that they can revisit it if it's appropriate. Always, I say, under the guidance of love and wisdom, because all I do is facilitate. And if it's appropriate, they go back to that memory, wherever it is, and they can experience a great peace and a resolution of that memory and a truth about their worth and value, and it changes the present. They can get on with their life.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So it's a kind of like forgiving or grieving the loss. Is that what they go through? And then bringing the new perspective?
Well, I think the grieving and feeling it is feelings, but to me what holds all the feelings together is the belief, always. You know, like it's my fault and we're going to die. Or it can be the trauma where they freeze. And when people freeze, that part of their memory, which has now been proven in biology of belief, Bruce Lipton, it freezes the cells in our bodies, and our bodies hold that memory. And we continue on because there's lots of other parts of us that can operate okay.
Yes, and from these encounters, you developed an organisation.
Yes, well, I did. I stepped aside and felt that I've got to share this with people and make it available. So we developed Agape Encounter and eventually developed 72 seminars with topics that were relevant to people who were coming to us that would help them really live life to the full.
If there's anyone who wants to know more about Agape Encounter, have you got a website or something?
Yeah, it's called Agape Encounter. Although it's Agape, we call it Agape, AGAPE, ENCOUNT.org, O-R-G.
Yeah.
And on there is all the details about everything, the seminars, the workshops.
Yeah, so it's got a double E in between the Agape.
Yes, it's like Agape
Encounter.
and Encounter, and you put it together.
Ah, right.
.org.
Yeah, and you've been running some seminars with that too.
We've been running seminars every month since '99. And we've now many, many CDs, many booklets, and I've written a book called Peace, Presence and Power, which is a combination of 42 of the seminars, which has changed my life. It's got real stories in it.
Yeah. Would you like to say a couple of sentences of blessing to the people?
Well, I just encourage people who are watching, just as I encourage you, and I encourage myself daily, because it's an ongoing journey, is to be real about their feelings. And if I don't know where they are in their journey, but just to really be real and honest about your feelings and what you're thinking and what you're believing. And I often liken, as ugly as it is, it's a bit like allowing it all to come up without, and you just feel better just being present to yourself. And then when you get present to your Creator, your God, to Jesus, and tell Him and listen to what His perspective is, it can change your life.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. We'd love to have you back next week, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'd love to come.
You've been watching Spirit of Life. Tune in next week. Goodbye and God bless you.